Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at some incredibly fun battles in the Open Great League featuring the fastest possible pacing Pokemon in the format, Shadow Gallade. Shadow Gallade received a ton of hype after it got access to Psycho Cut, but the fact that it's very technical to use and extremely frail means it hasn't seen a ton of meta play. However, I had an absolute blast with it. I went positive overall across the sets that I ran with it, and its combination of lightning fast pacing and massive damage means that if you're able to pilot it carefully, it can lead to some very fun results. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at Shadow Gallade in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, leading Dewgong into Spark Lantern, and right off the bat, we end up stuttering quite a bit. We get the fast moves back that we should have gotten, but I don't know what they did on the most recent update that they pushed, but the frame drops on Android are just absolutely atrocious right now, so please Niantic, fix whatever happened. The good news is due to the Spark nerf, if you have a high-ranked Dewgong, you win the zeros versus Spark Lantern. If they shield, I aggressively pivot into Gallade. I'm losing Switch anyway, so I may as well use this as an opportunity to deny them one spark of farm. They stay in, they surf, I commit the shield, I can throw 3 and CMP tie them on the Leaf Blade. If they want this energy, they're going to have to use the final shield, and they elect to let it go. They send out not a counter to Gallade, but an Annihilate, which is a massive, massive surprise. Annihilate does not do well here, so if they're sending this in, they're very weak to Gallade in the back. I could throw 4 Psycho Cuts and double up on Leaf Blades, but I think I have a better play. If they're weak to my energy, I'm going to throw 5, switch and catch on the 1 HP Dewgong that I saved from earlier. Now I can Psycho Cut down. What do they have in the back? It's a Dewgong, and I have 2 close combats. My defense will be debuffed. Can I survive the Ice Shard? The answer is yes. I survive it on 1 HP. I get the close combat. Almost a full one-shot. Gligar gets the wing attack farm down of Dewgong and Annihilate, and we're able to take the win. We've got a battle of content creators in the next match as I go up against Caleb Peng, and he's got me core broken on the lead. Dewgong versus Cresselia, this is not a Pokemon that I'm happy to see. Both Gallade and Dewgong struggle here. He goes for Grass Knot, I'm going to go for the Icy Wind. The Icy Wind means that the second Grass Knot is not going to be enough to knock out, so I will be able to chip away here. He switches out, save switches into Charge-a-Bug, and the fact that he's save switching it makes me think he is probably on Crunch and he's looking to bait this out, but he's actually not on Crunch. He's on X-Scissor. And that is pretty nice. I should be able to wing attack this into a range where I can just KO with the Dig. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to farm to 100 energy. Dig won't quite KO from here, but I should be able to KO it in 2 more wing attacks and then exit with a massive amount of energy. But I don't know if he is like a rank 1 Charge-a-Bug or something, but he lives that on 1 HP and I'm forced to give up a shield. This energy is too valuable and I need to get damage onto this Cresselia. So, to me, it's worth going down a shield, because now I can start launching digs at the Cresselia. So I will fire off the dig. Dig does get shielded by the Cresselia. I'm able to make it to another dig. Thought it was going to be Charge Attack priority, but I do see the Psycho Cut go through. The dig is able to land. He overfarms quite a bit, and this means he'll be able to outpace the Dewgong and knock me out with a Grass Knot. I'm going to send in the Dewgong, force his energy, and I'm going to trust in Gallade. Caleb's favorite Pokemon is Bastiodon, so I'm trusting that it might be back there, and there it is. Hello, Bastiodon. I'm farming up, and I'm firing off the close combat here. This is double super effective damage. Close combat nearly picks up the 1-hit KO. I thought I could Psycho Cut down. He's barely able to survive on 1 HP and make it to a Flamethrower, but I have 2 Leaf Blades, and Cresselia does not have a banked move. So Shadow Gallade is going to be able to take the win. We had a pretty terrible lead situation, but he ended up giving up switch advantage, and that put us in a position to succeed, and Shadow Gallade stands strong as it takes the win. Moving into the next match, okay lead Dewgong versus Shadow Victory Bell, but this is not Razor Leaf. This is actually the Community Day move of Magical Leaf. I'm going to shield and then look to fire off an Icy Wind. Opponent tries for a catch onto Dewgong. In comes Gallade. I build up to the close combat and I'm baiting with the Leaf Blade. Close combat, as we've seen, basically one-shots. Opponent calls the bait, and that is really unfortunate for me. I actually don't know if I survive a move here. I decide to shield, and in hindsight, I think I should just always call that, because I think it wouldn't have been enough to KO. I was worried about the frailty of Gallade, but I think I could have survived it, and now being down 2 shields, this is quite scary. I'm going for the close combat. This will lower my defense. I'm hoping that it means that the Magical Leaf will KO, but they're barely able to hang on. I send in the Gligar. Gligar will be hit with the Leaf Blade. This will do a lot of damage. I have to hope Gligar can do well in the back, and it cannot, as unfortunately it's a Water Gun Lantern, and this game is all kinds of over. I go for the dig, there's the shield, and Dewgong cannot make 2 drill runs here because I will get outpaced. My only hope is that somehow Icy Winding saves me, but there's just no way. And as we see, before I get the second drill run, the opponent is able to make the Thunderbolt. If I didn't Icy Wind, that would have been enough to knock out. So unfortunately, Water Gun Lantern, there was really just nowhere for my Gligar to go in the endgame, so I will concede the match. Dewgong versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and it's Powder Snow. This is a lot better for me. One thing I have to watch for is my opponent trying to make a potential catch. The most logical time is for them to throw 1 and go for the catch, so I'm not going to throw the move. They send in Azu, and in a bit of a surprising turn of events, I'm bringing in my fighter into the Azumarill. Gallade is able to have a very dominant matchup versus Azumarill as long as shields are available, just due to the fact that there's such a tremendous pacing advantage. A Leaf Blade every 8 turns is absolutely wild. I'm farming up just shy of their next Ice Beam and firing off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade gets shielded. I can win CMP here. They end up going for the extra, so they do get a bubble through, but that's still very okay by me, as now I'm in a position where I can shield this to Gallade, look to overfarm, and potentially even make a close combat versus that Alolan Sandslash. So I'm going to farm up. I'm almost at 2 more Leaf Blades. The energy generation on Gallade, it is just so much fun. And if they send in the Sandslash, I think I survive 2 Powder Snows, and I do. I take 2 Powder Snows, I make the close combat, get that Sandslash out of here. In the back is Lantern, and I have so much energy on my Dewgong. Dewgong is going to be able to hit them with the back-to-back drill runs. Drill run number 2 is going to be queued up here shortly, and this will not quite knock out, but it will get them very low. I'm going to try and go for a little bit of a bad manners catch, so I do 2, wait the turn. I thought that's when they were going to go for the Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, I don't get the catch. That would have been an absolutely beautiful catch, but it's not to be. The good news is, however, even failing the catch, I still win the game, as I was just in a completely won position. Tough lead in the next match, Dewgong versus Vigoroth. The save switch to Gallade. Opponent is going to respond with Trevenant, and this is a really bad sign for me. I'm faking a potential Synchronoise, as that would do a ton of damage, but they do not respect it. However, interestingly enough, they actually decide to throw their energy here. That's okay by me. The unfortunate thing is so far they're ABA weak to Gligar, and it's unlikely they're going to be triple weak to Gligar, so that means my Gligar could potentially be in trouble in the back. They will be firing off the higher damage Shadow Ball. I'm going to get a nice farm down, throw the move instantly into the Vigoroth, and then look to switch. I'll go for the Drill Run, as Drill Run does do slightly more damage. I'm not too concerned about debuffing them. I just want as much damage as possible, and then I'll look to switch into the Gligar. They switch at the same time, but here's the important dynamic of this situation. I get a 0-turn switch, and they get a 1-turn, and that is actually intentional. Their counter damage had yet to register. Here, I'm farming up. I should have CMP tied this Aerial Ace with this Hydro Cannon. If I did, then to get their second move off, they would have been forced to commit a shield themselves. Regardless of whether I CMP tie or not, I could have farmed down here because I farmed down in 4 and I could have farmed down in 5. But now, I'm forced to throw a lot of moves at this Vigoroth, and every time I throw, another counter of energy gets added to the Vigoroth. I build up to this dig, baiting again with the Aerial Ace, and they call the bait. My only hope is a Rock Slide catch. I get the catch onto the Dewgong. Is this going to be the Rock Slide? No, they body slammed. And unfortunately, I cannot farm down here. Opponent is going to be able to make it to a Rock Slide. Rock Slide absolutely going to KO here. If I had CMP tied that for Alligator, I would have been in a better spot, but unfortunately, I did not, and it comes back to cost me in the end game. We've got Dewgong versus Azumarill, and we're going to be here for a while. Here's the fun thing as the Dewgong player in this Azumarill matchup. If you go for the Icy Wind first, it incentivizes them to switch out, so I can potentially align it with Gallade later, and if they stay in, suddenly their play roughs do dramatically less damage. Like, look at this play rough. That does nothing. Dewgong is now very comfortably able to absorb that energy, and I can farm up and just begin launching these drill runs. The drill runs are never going to do a lot of damage. They are non-stab, but the important thing is I'm just trying to make it so my Dewgong has a lot more staying power. Here, I decide to get aggressive. I aggressively pivot into Gallade, and I will fire off the Leaf Blade. This just knocks out unless they decide to commit the shield. They let it go. Down goes Azumarill. In comes Skeledirge. Oh boy. Here's where having Synchronoise would be nice. Obviously, I don't have it, so I'm forced to spam out Leaf Blades. Leaf Blade does a lot, though. so I am going to fire off the Leaf Blade. Getting to a third Leaf Blade will come down to new mechanic, aka damage registration error. I rarely get it, but this time I do. I actually get the mechanic. Oh, that is wonderful. I'm able to force the final shield. It's very rare that I actually get that, so that feels amazing. I can bring in the Dugong, and at this point, up 2 shields, Gligar is just in such a good position. I can commit the shield. If they stay in, I can make it to an Aerial Ace, and that's going to be able to knock out. And Gligar up a shield, even if it is something that would typically beat Gligar, can do well against a lot of things. And it's a Sand Slash with Shadow Claw, down a shield they cannot win, and the opponent concedes the match. A tough lead returns in the next match, Dugong versus Vigoroth. I safe switch into the Gallade, and out comes Shadow Gligar. I try and CMP tie them. Opponent is just going to go for the extra. If they make the mistake of over farming by 1, which they do, I can actually force a shield here in the zeros. Opponent underestimating the lightning fast spam from Gallade, and I get a shield advantage out of a pretty terrible matchup. So that's incredibly good for me. I can farm down with the Dugong. Opponent is only going to make an Aerial Ace, and they're going to have to throw an alignment to do so. So I have 3 Ice Shards of energy. I'm still pretty healthy because I'm only taking an Aerial Ace, and I have my own Gligar, which can potentially do well here. Vigoroth staying in. They're going to be firing off energy. I will commit the shield. They're going to be just spamming out as many body slams as they possibly can. I'm just going to keep farming. I know that I can survive 1. In case it's something like a Gator, I do want to let this go. I'm going to overfarm, wait the turn to make sure they don't get a catch, and I'm going for the dig. Dig is going to get them low. Vigoroth cannot make the move. I exit with energy. It's Carbink in the back, and I think I can make 2, so I'm not going to bait. I go for the dig. The dig gets shielded. I think I can get there, but I can't. Disaster strikes, and I've lost the game. Unfortunately, 2 drill runs do not KO here, as opposed to Bastiodon where it's double super effective. It's only single super effective on the Carbink. My only hope would be somehow that I Icy Wind, I can live the rock throws, and my opponent just tries to go for an ill-advised farm down, but I have just lost. This is a game where had I baited, I'm instantly in a winning position because I could have landed a dig from the Gligar, but I thought I could make 2, and unfortunately, another winnable game just slips out of reach. We move to the next match, and we see a better lead. Thank goodness it's not one of those Vigoroths. So many Vigoroth leads. Opponent, oh, they save switch to Vigoroth. I'm going to stay in with the Dugong. I was going to debuff them. They throw a body slam to get some damage before I can debuff. But now I can send out Gallade. Gallade, I'm not going to throw right away. Instead, what I'm going to do is look to overfarm. I know I can tank a body slam. Look how much damage that does, by the way. And I'm going to farm them to the back-to-back close combat. So this way, I either force both shields, or if they let it go, I have a close combat ready for the Wigglytuff. And this does massive damage. I believe it does over 3/4 of Wigglytuff's health as a neutral move. So this will command a shield. And getting a shield advantage versus charm teams is very valuable. And here's where the stored energy on the Dugong will come in clutch. I can immediately apply a debuff. Their charm's not nearly as threatening as they typically would be. It's a Poliwrath in the back, and I am in a very good position here. I was a little slow on the switch, but I'm still able to outpace. The Aerial Ace barely does not KO, and I just have to preserve health in this moment. So I will commit the shield. I'm debuffed. In comes the Wigglytuff, but since I have enough HP, my only lose con is for some reason going for baits, so I can just go straight dig. I will go for the dig. Wigglytuff is going to let that through. That means Gligar gets a full entire farm down, and we're able to take the win. We see a tough lead in the next match. We are pretty weak to this Pokemon. Opponent safe switches into a Spark Lantern, and I instantly throw the game. What I should have done was stay in with the Dugong, because I know Dugong wins the zeros. But I panic switch. I see the water type. I panic switch into Gallade, and Gallade is so frail that as long as Lantern goes down a shield, Lantern actually flips this. So that was a huge missed opportunity for me. Honestly, when running a team that you haven't run before, sometimes you will make those mistakes, but man, watching it back hurts. I could have just stayed in with the Dugong, won the zeros, or forced the shield, and once I got a shield advantage, I could have sent in Gallade. And Gallade with a shield advantage against a Lickitung and a Lantern Core is going to be able to put in a ton of work. I get the knockout here in the back. It's Annihilate, and I am just heartbroken in this moment. They farm up to a potential Ice Punch. I will respect it, but had I just stayed in with the Dugong and either won switch or potentially could have one shield advantage, I would have been in a winning position. I have 2 anti-fighters in the back, but I just misplayed it terribly. And my clock, I don't think is going to be up for me to catch. In hindsight here, I think I could have gone for double Aerial Ace, as double Aerial Ace could have allowed my clock to be up and then potentially had a little bit of play. But I thought I could farm down, but I can't. My clock is not up. They actually let themselves get as low as possible there, which is a very nice play. And then I just don't have the energy or the health or the shields to win with Dugong. I'm 0 out of 3 here. I can go for the Icy Wind. Opponent knows they do not have to shield it, and I'm just going to resign the match. So I feel like there's been a lot of winnable games, but unfortunately I haven't really been able to convert just purely based off my play. In the final match, though, we see a much better lead. Dugong versus Dragonair. Dragonair with the outpace, able to connect with the body slam. I have no desire to shield here. I don't want to commit the first shield of the match unless I have to. So I will be going for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind into the Dragonair. They're shielding. They want switch advantage, and I'm very okay with giving them switch advantage. A lot of the times, Dragonair leads have very alignment-dependent stuff in the back. Maybe even a Skarmory. And if there's Skarmory in the back, I want Gallade with energy. That's not a Skarmory. That is a Razor Leaf Victory Bell. Look at this damage, though. I'm going to go for close combat. It connects. We snipe with the wing attack in the back. It's the wall face Bastiodon, and they just stopped tapping. The opponent was not expecting that close combat damage at all. They just stopped tapping. They finally restart tapping there. I get it. I would be frustrated too if a resistant move did that much, but that's the raw damage output of Shadow Gallade. And here it looks like the opponent just closed the app, which is unfortunate. So it's going to take a while for my dig to connect and take the win. But against a team with a Bastiodon and a Victory Bell, we take the win with both shields remaining. All in all, I had a ton of fun getting to use Shadow Gallade. As I mentioned, across the sets that I did with it, I was able to go slightly positive. I do think my record could have been substantially better with better calls and just better plays overall. Like, I felt like there were a couple games where, unfortunately, just inaccuracies by me ended up allowing opponents to win in situations where they probably shouldn't have. But I had a lot of fun with it. Shadow Gallade, I wouldn't still say is meta, but I think with very careful play, you can use it in like an anti-meta role to surprise a lot of teams. Like, there's a lot of Annihilate teams that are just really, really weak to Gallade. Like, there's the Annihilate Dugong Bastiodon, there's Annihilate Lantern, and seeing stuff like Gallade can actually be a huge problem for them. So I do think in an anti-meta role, it does have quite a bit of potential, but of course, with how absurdly frail it is, there's going to be some games where unfortunately it does feel like dead weight, just purely off the fact that it is not taking any hits whatsoever. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.